Freiliche Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to all of our viewers. We'd like to speak about Hanukkah and we wish to explain God's help, the very fundamentals of Hanukkah, which are extremely important for us today as well. The title of the Shiur is Internalizing Eternal Miracles. The point of departure is simply the text that was inserted in the Moedim Bracha of our Tefillah, of our davening during Hanukkah. When we come to Moedim Anachnu Loch, this of course is the expression of gratitude and thanksgiving to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in Hanukkah and Purim, the Chazal, our sages, inserted an addition, an addendum. Since this blessing basically revolves around giving thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, expressing our deep felt gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so therefore the declaration for the special miracles of Hanukkah and Purim were incorporated in the bracha of Moedim Anachnu Loch. We are gratefully thankful to you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course, the reason is, like the Chazal tell us, Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. We have to bless HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give him thanks every day. The Gemara asks, we only thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu during the day, in other words, during the daylight, and not at nighttime. Of course, we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu 24 hours around the clock, if we're capable of doing it, according to our capacities, abilities, our alertness, if we're not sleeping. So all 24 hours around the clock are surely proper hours for us to thank and be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anytime there was a unique type of miracle, a unique type of salvation, so we have to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that. So Hanukkah, of course, we had a special salvation from Malchus Yavon, from the evil kingdom of Yavon, and on Purim from Haman HaRasha. So therefore, we have to, at this time of year, the calendar date that Purim falls out on every year, and Hanukkah falls out on every year, so this is the proper time, the propitious moment to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Of course, we believe, as we mentioned many, many times, that we don't celebrate historical events only, but it's only historical events that they are eternalized. In other words, when we celebrate Pesach, which is a Zman HaGeula, that's the redemption of the Jewish people from Mitzrayim, it's not we're celebrating an event of the past. Not only are we identifying with the event of the past, we have to feel, experience, relive, re-experience the Exodus itself as if we're going out of Mitzrayim. But that basically is also a present experience, because at this time of year, Tezvav B'Nissen, it's as if the entire Bria, the entire universe for the Jewish people now becomes engulfed with the spirit of salvation. It's called the Iris, the beautiful lights and illumination of what happened yesteryear are revived, and we can feel it in the air as it were now. And that's the Yisod also of Hanukkah and Purim, the Iris of Hanukkah and Purim, the light, illumination, emanations of Hanukkah reverberate, and we are now able, in the atmosphere that we live in, to feel and experience the atmosphere of miracles. So this is a very important yesod, that by Yomim Mohem, Bazman Hazeh, the Yomim Mohem, those days, and they were great days, they were outstanding days, they were days of miracles, like the Bach says, they were very strong, powerful days, where we saw God's salvation, so they reoccur. aroused anew during that time period. So we actually feel in the air, as we mentioned a moment ago, by Yom Ha'em Bazman Hazeh, in our time, also the great emanations of the yesteryear. And therefore, Chazal made a takana, an ordinance, to incorporate what happened insofar as Chana is concerned, that unique salvation from Shibud Yovon and also Purim in Moedem Anachnoloch. And we say Ala Nisim, Ve'ala Purka, this is the addition, Ve'ala Gvurs, Ve'ala Choice. And we also thank you, Rebbeinu Shalom, for all the miracles and for all the salvations and all the mighty deeds, for the victories and the wonders and for the consolations and the battles which we won, which of course you performed for our forefathers in those days at this time. And we also mentioned the story of the great military victories during the time of religious persecution, where the Jewish people did not allow themselves to accept this persecution. The Yevon were interested to make us forget about the Torah and compel us to stray from the ordinance of the Torah, especially the Chukim. These are ordinances which we cannot understand. They wanted us to stray, to leave it. This was basically the religious persecution, and we did not allow ourselves to be persecuted to the extent where we would, God forbid, abandon our faith in the Torah. Ipso facto in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, although we fought battles against the mighty Yovon, and we won, despite the fact that we were a few people, Chaloshim, we were very weak. The Kodesh Baruch Hu made a tremendous nest for us. As we know, Masarti Giber Biat Chaloshim, Rabban Biat Ma'atim, etc. And all of a sudden, we come to not praise of a Kodesh Baruch Hu for our salvation, not words of gratitude or thanksgiving, but at the end we come to a simple narration. We narrate a story. The Acha came bo vanecho ledvir beisecho, ufinu es echolecho, v'tiach es mikdoshecho, v'tikun neres b'chas meshecho. Thereafter, your children, your sons, came to the Holy of Holies of your house. That's the Beis Hamikdash. Cleansed your temple, purified the site of your holiness, and kindled lights in the courtyards of your sanctuaries. And then they established these 8 days of Hanukkah to express thanks and praise for your great name. So this is not hoido, the essence, the substance of the end of Ala Nisim simply does not coincide with the Shem of the bracha. The bracha here is hoidoyah, thanksgiving. So we have to tell over a story for what we have to give thanksgiving. We speak about the mighty victories that the Klal Yisrael were able to achieve through HaKadosh Baruch Hu, obviously. But why, after the victories, after Klal Yisrael emerged victorious from this battle and were capable of removing all the insidious elements that had penetrated in Eretz Yisrael, and not only that, we were able to get the Malchus, our kingdom, back. And as the Rambam points out, we had a kingdom for 200 years after the Yevanim were defeated. Why do we simply bring down a story relating to the cleansing of the Beis Hamikdash, the purifying of the Beis Hamikdash, lighting candles in the Beis Hamikdash? This is a mere narration. This is a Sipur Maisa Ba'alma. This does not have a Chaloi Shem Hoidoyah. This does not belong under the rubric, the category of Hoidoh. This should have been eliminated from the Ala Nisim, and we should have simply finished L'cho Asisa, Shem Godel V'Kodesh Baruch Necha. We Brich Hashem brought about a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. This is superfluous. and it does not coincide with the theme. There's no thematic connection to Thanksgiving. This is one question we should like to address ourselves to. The second question, of course, everyone asks. This is a very, very difficult question to answer. When the Gemara decided to ask the question, "My Hanukkah?" What's the reason that the Chazal established Hanukkah to be a festival? The festival of Hanukkah, there's no Kedushas Hayoim, there's no intrinsic holiness in the days of Hanukkah. But these are days where we are obligated to do extra mitzvahs we don't do all year long. Say Hallel, we light candles. So what was the reason why Chazal decided to make midrabanan, on a rabbanon level, on a rabbinic level, the holiday and festival of Hanukkah? So Rashi explains there's two possibilities, two options. One, because of the great military victory, which defied all the odds of warfare. The Jewish people were physically weak. They were few in number. Nevertheless, they were able to be victorious and triumphant over great, strong armies. Or was it the miracle of the Pachashemet? After the Jewish people were able, as we mentioned a moment ago, to remove the insidious elements, so once again, they rededicated the Beis HaMikdash, they purified it, and then once again, they undertook the Avodas HaMikdash, the service of the Beis HaMikdash, and one of the mitzvahs, of course, is lighting the menorah, the 7 lights of the menorah every night. According to the Rambam, they also lit it during the day. But unfortunately, they did not have pure olive oil, so they found one small container that was sufficient to light one day, and it lit for 8 days. So the Gemara comes to a conclusion that it was due to the miracle of Pachashemet. The miracle, insofar as the military triumph is concerned, would not have been an adequate reason to establish Hanukkah as a festival. It was only the Nes of Pachashemet. And of course, we don't understand that because we know there were many, many miracles, greater miracles than that. And we had miracles that took place every day in the Beis HaMikdash. When the Beis HaMikdash, before it became contaminated and defiled by Yavon, so we all know that there was many, many miracles. One, even when there was a rain, a strong rain, the fire on the Mizbeach of the altar never was extinguished. There was never a bad odor in the Beis HaMikdash. There was many, many natural type of phenomena that took place in the Beis HaMikdash. We do not eternalize them. In addition, we had other great events that were miraculous. What could be a greater miraculous event than Mavoros HaYarden? It was as great, if not greater, than the splitting of the Red Sea when the Jewish people came to Eretz Yisrael. Because they came through the Jordan River. Jordan River is the boundary, is one of the boundaries that designates and defines the geographical area of Eretz Yisrael. So the Yarden split, most people are unaware what day it was. What was the date? What was the date of Mavar? It was the 10th day of Nisan. We forgot about it. We did not memorialize it. We did not internalize it. We had another great miracle. One of the greatest miracles insofar as warfare is concerned. Jericho, city of Yericho, Sefer Yeshua, was the strongest fortress of all time. There were 7 thick walls surrounding Yericho, impenetrable. Yeshua was charged with the mission of capturing Eretz Israel. So how did he, at the end, capture Yericho? Very simple. He made 7 hakafis, just like we have in Simchas Torah. Blue Shofar said, Oleinu l'shabeach, and on each circling of the walls that protected the city of Yericho, one wall collapsed. So Yeshua, through simply making a kavas, encircling it, blowing shofar, saying Oleinu, was able to demolish 7 strong, impenetrable walls. Came in, and we did not lose one soldier. Captured Jericho. We don't even know when it was. It was a great miracle. So the question naturally arises that this miracle would appear to be superfluous. It was not necessary for the Kiyum Ha'umah, for the Jewish nation to survive. We could have done without that. And the military victory, which was necessary, like the Ramban says in Parshas Vayechi, because without that, all of Torah Sheba'al Peh, our oral tradition, would have been totally lost, and we would be assimilated, and we would not exist. So this is the question everyone asks. We have to try to understand it, of course. Third question we'd like to focus our attention on is the strange ordinance of Hanukkah, the way it's presented in the Gemara. Shana Acheres, after we had the miracle of Pach HaShemen and the menorah, and the Beis Hamikdash lit for 8 days, even though the quantity should have lasted no more than 1 day. So the next year, Shana Acheres, also v'kavum yomim tovim b'al ha'avodah, the festival of Hanukkah was established. Hallel, Hallel, as we say, Hallel all 8 days, and of course, Hoido is ala nisim that we say in Tefillah, as well as Birchas HaMazon. That's the addition that we mentioned a few moments ago. We are unaware of any delay insofar as the establishment of Purim is concerned. As soon as the Jewish people were saved miraculously, the Nafechu, the enemies were handed over to the Jewish people in a silver platter. The victories took place on Yud Daled and Tes Vov Oda respectively. So right away, Esther said, Kisfuni l'dairos. She asked the Bezdin HaGadol that she should be eternalized, and the miracle of Purim should be established as a festival and a holiday. And the mashmoyas is, it would appear to be, that it was established immediately, right after the salvation. There was mass celebration. After all, they were saved from the evil enemy that was interested in genocide. That's Haman, Amalek. He's the real Amalek. So in the midst of the celebration, Esther received the consent of the Anshe Knesset Sakadayla of Mordechai, and it was established. Why, by Hanukkah, was it necessary to wait an entire year? Difficult question. Only the next year, Chazal saw fit that it should be designated as a festival. Of course, to answer the why questions are difficult. We could usually answer the what does it mean, what's the meaning of the festival, the why is difficult. But here we see the Gemara basically ask this question. Why is there Bechlal a Hanukkah? Why is there a Hanukkah at all? So this gives us perhaps a reshus, perhaps it gives us a permission to explore, investigate these three questions and try to answer the why question as well. Why was it important to incorporate, right, in our order of festivals, Hanukkah, based exclusively on the Ness of Pach Hashemen and the Ness of the Nitzachon, which the Ramban says was a great, great victory for Torah Sheba'al Peh and for the survival of the Jewish people as a religious entity, not a sufficient reason for establishing Hanukkah. So the basic difference between Hanukkah and Purim is explained by one of the Kadmonim. He's a Rishon, lived in the 12th century. That's the Avudraham. So the Avudraham explains the difference by using a question and answer type of approach. So the question is, on Purim, one of the four central mitzvahs is Suda v'Mishta, Simcha v'Mishta. In other words, there's a Sudas Purim, there's a festive meal. How do we fulfill this? With eating and drinking, and like the Rambam says, you drink until you get drunk. Many people who abstain from drinking whiskey to get drunk, nevertheless on Purim, that's the mitzvah. Adilo Yoda. Jewish people always considered that there were two goyim that were the Chasidei Yumay Soilon, Johnny Walker and Jack Daniels. But on Hanukkah, there's no mitzvah suda. We make sudas, but that's rishus. It's not a mitzvah. It's voluntary. And also we can't make it unless we combine it with Shiur, singing and dancing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, celebrating HaKadosh Baruch Hu's great chasadim and toivos that he rendered the Jewish people during Hanukkah. So the Avudraham asks, what's the reason? So he says very simply, the danger of Purim was a simple danger. It's not complicated. It's not complex. The danger to the Jewish people was one of survival, the gut survival danger. Haman HaRasha was interested in genocide, the Hashmid, the Haroi, the Abed, Kaf, the Zokim, B'yom. In one day, he fantasized he will totally destroy, annihilate, exterminate, just like Hitler, Yamach Shemai, also the real Amalek, the entire Jewish people in Persia. Hundreds of thousands of people would be exterminated, a real, genuine genocide. And by genocide, we're always the victims. We're never the perpetrators. We're not capable of doing such things. Pure anti-Semitism that's being cast our way. So the salvation was from the physical realm. What was in danger? The physical existence of the Jewish people, the bodies. And there was no way we could have been saved from this evil edict. What would be if somebody would be willing to change his religion, to convert to the religion of Melech Achashverosh or Haman, whatever it was, we don't know. But if they had the Jewish people become apostates, it wouldn't help them. Just like by Hitler, he checked 3 generations back to see if there was even a Jewish grandmother. There was no escape from physical annihilation and extermination, total. So therefore, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrought the miracle, so it was the miracle that they were saved. What was saved? The physical bodies of the Jewish people, the physical entities. So the celebration revolves also around the physical. What is that? Mishteh, simcha, eating, drinking, merriment. There's a mitzvah, sudas purim, a special takone to make a sudas purim to celebrate, because after all, it's visceral, it's physical. That was the salvation from the evil edict. Hanukkah was the opposite, the very opposite. If the Jewish people would have been willing to abandon their religion and beliefs, so the Yevonim would have done everything. They would have renounced any other request that they might have had. For example, who would have been autonomous here? The Jewish people. They would have had a malchus. They could have a king, like the Maral says. Autonomy, sovereignty. You have your own army, totally independent state. They were willing to grant the Jewish people statehood, a nation, but one condition. That's all. One condition. Kisvu lachem al kegen hashol she'ein bachem chelek. You write on the horn of an ox a declaration that you do not have any part of Elokei Yisrael. Very esoteric, Chazal. Try to explain it, but that's all they wanted. One concession. And that concession, of course, we mentioned, we have to explain it a little bit more elaborately. What exactly was Chochmas Yevonis, the wisdom of the Greeks, or Syria as it might be, it was called Greeks. Chochmas Yevonis, something which is not rational, something which cannot be understood. It cannot be understood, and we can't understand it logically. It's not part of nature, which we can perceive as far as the physical realm of the world is concerned. So it doesn't exist. It's not true. Who were the first ones to deny the world to come? The Greeks. Chochmas Yevonis. Chochmas Yevonis stated, it's something which is not possible to perceive according to human intellect, and therefore does not exist. So they uprooted the belief that the Jewish people had that this was the ikar. Why are we here in this world? This is only the hallway, the vestibule to get to the Olam Haba. Denied that, and they wanted the Jewish people to deny it too. The riots, the previous Rebbe of Chabad, so he was involved in the Bolshevik Revolution. And he had certain information that was very valuable to the Bolsheviks. So there was a Catholic commander that was not too religious insofar as Catholicism is concerned, but he was Catholic and he was known to be a Catholic. He participated in the Bolshevik Revolution. We can't say that he was a meticulously observant Catholic, but he was still a Catholic. So he was the one that had the audacity to take a gun to the head of the rayats and say, "Are you afraid of this? And if you are afraid of this, you better give us the information that we're looking for. We want you to inform and tell us certain privy information that you had." So the rayat said, no, he smiled. The rayat says, "You know who is afraid of this? Someone like you. who has two fathers and one world. But somebody like me that only has one father and two worlds, he's not afraid. And this Catholic commander was so impressed with this answer that he let him go. This is what we believe. We have two worlds, one Father in heaven. That's our goal. That's eternal. They deny that. And they philosophize that what exactly is the value and worthiness of a human being. Intrinsic worthiness. Who is he? Who is man? So they explained it. Someone who has good looks, handsome person, someone who has a lot of physical strength, who could perform in the Olympics, who's a sportsman. And of course, they were the ones that brought all the sports to Israel, to Eretz Israel at the time, and they built stadiums, and they glorified someone that was blessed with physical strength, can do great feats, great physical feats. And this was a worthy person, somebody that did not attain good looks, was not handsome, was not beautiful, was not a capable, clever individual that had a type of career, prestige. So he was a nothing, has no worthiness. We, of course, understand that that is not who a person is, not a who. That's what he is. He had nothing to do to it. He was granted, right, from heaven certain physical strengths. This is the way he was born. He attained absolutely nothing. So that's what he is. What is he? He's rich. He has a position. He's tall. He's strong. These are all extraneous properties insofar as definition of a man is concerned. How do we define who he is? Is he devoted to the service of the Kadosh Baruch Hu? Is he a kind person? Is he a compassionate person? Did he work on himself to be loyal and grateful to his fellow man if he does good deeds, and ipso facto to be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So this is the way we define a who. By them it's meaningless. And all of Western culture that we have today, that is the degeneration of the human being. It totally diminishes the human being we have today. There's no culture to it. But they say there is, because Western culture has finally come to its apex and its summit, and the foundation is Chochmas Yevonis. No restrictions. God? We don't know that such a, right? We have gods, this and that, but that was all fantasy. There's no such thing as a moral law. There's only a law of nature. And the result is a total chaos, a return to Toyu Vavayu. We're talking about the Gentiles. Unfortunately to us, a few Jews, it's also applicable. No restrictions, no paying of taxes, do your own thing, cancel culture, and we see the results. Hatred, why not? You can hate the Jewish people. No one of the greatest universities today could condemn violent demonstrations on campus of genocide to Jews. Those that proclaim that Jewish people should be the object of genocide by three great, it's a joke, as if they're fools, lightweights. They couldn't answer a regular question. They give so many opportunities. Foolish people involved in education. They've uprooted. It's not education. It's de-education. It's not humanities. It's the humanities. They couldn't say clearly that calling and proclaiming a genocide on campus against Jewish students is contrary to the code of conduct. And one evil person, a president, University of Pennsylvania, had the audacity, after she asked 3 times, to say that it's not bullying, it's not harassment if it doesn't become conduct. So the congresswoman asked, you mean conduct after you commit genocide? That's when it's contrary to the rules and the code of conduct? Nazism. There should be demonstrations against these people, ostracized. These are educators. These are demons interested in the destruction of the Jewish people, disguised as presidents. It's disgusting, repulsive. This is Chochmas Yevonis. This is it. Finally reached the summit. How many people who were not handsome or beautiful, how much pain and suffering they have, because they were also instilled with this Chochmas Yevonis that they don't have self-worth. We hold it's not even a secondary value. A moral, ethical person, dedicated, devoted to Avodas Hashem, that's a worthy person. That's a person that is linked with eternity. That's a godly person. That's a person that represents a Tzelem Elokim, formed in the image of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So had the Jewish people succumbed, submitted to proclaim that they don't aim Lanu Chelek B'Elokei Yisrael, they would have had everything they wanted. But the Jewish people would never do such a thing. Because when the Jewish people now and then are confronted with difficult trials and tribulations, should we become apostates to save ourselves and to live a good life in this world? So for most of the Jewish people, there was a resounding no. And what was their motto when they went out to war? Yesh lanu chelek b'Elokei Yisrael. Not only will we not write and declare Ein lanu chelek b'Elokei Yisrael, we will declare the opposite. Yesh lanu chelek b'Elokei Yisrael. And we're a few in number against the mighty army, and we are weak, physically weak, against those that possess tremendous strength. We will fight for our religion. This is the Jewish people's response. Not passivity, activity. We will fight. We will rebel. And we will never succumb to Ein lanu chelek b'Elokei Yisrael. We will always say, Yesh lanu chelek b'Elokei Yisrael. So Hanukkah, the physical battle, the battle to simply remove the army of Yavon and concomitantly, when the Jewish people will see how they're defeated, so hopefully this will cleanse us and purify us from our negative beliefs that the Yevonim tried to implant and instill in us. Of course, they brought the stadiums and they proclaimed their chokhmah, their wisdom. And it's a strong possibility. And unfortunately, they were misyavnim. They succumbed to the religious persecution and they became, as it were, apostates, and they joined Malchus Yavon, the kingdom of Yavon. They succumbed. Others, we're not sure exactly what happened historically. We're based on the Maharal, basically, Avodrom, but there was difficult trials and tribulations that they had to endure. So the Avodrom says very simply, very, very simply, there's absolutely no place to institute a mitzvah suda, because the battle was for Jewish beliefs against the beliefs of Yovan. It was a spiritual, metaphysical war. The physical war was only the vehicle how to drive out these insidious elements that wanted to, God forbid, affect us in our deis ve'emunos, in our beliefs. A Jewish person is a Jewish person basically and first and foremost due to his beliefs, his unique beliefs. I am because I believe. Yud Gimel Likim of the Rambam. So there's no place for a suda. For mitzvahs, Blachas Neiros Hanukkah, Beis Hamikdash, which was defiled by the Greeks, as the Rambam himself states, because after all, what is Chukei Ritzonecha? What is from the great Chukim that we don't understand? That's Tumah V'Taira. Where's the Mokkah? Where's the place where requires absolute purity? That's the Beis Hamikdash. So they came to defile the Beis Hamikdash. They did not believe in Tumah V'Taira because it's something which is not perceptive to the five senses, and something which is metaphysical, spiritual. They didn't believe it, so they went out of their way to defile it. Beis Hamikdash, that's the Mokkah of Ashras Hashchina. That's where the Kadosh Baruch Hu resides. They wanted to defile. We don't see him. It's not visible. Doesn't exist. This was the Vikuas. So now we can understand very, very readily, and I would say clearly, perhaps I'm wrong, but I believe so, that the real Hoidah, the real thanksgiving, is only at the end of the Alanissim. Of course, we also thank for the military victories, because it would be for the military victories, it would not have been restored. The Beis Hamikdash, the Makam Ashras Hashchina, but for the Jewish people, it meant a lot. It was still meaningful, despite the ridicule and scorn that Malchus Yavan cast on Tumah V'Taira, on defiling the Beis Hamikdash. The Jewish people still held that this was the most important part of their life, fulfilling the Chukei HaTorah, and the greatest Chukim. Navir Mechukei Ritzonecha. What is the greatest Chukei Ritzonecha? Says the Rambam, Tumah V'Taira, especially in the Beis Hamikdash, which has unique halachas of Tumah V'Taira, of purity and impurity. So we give thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. For what? The Ikar thanks is for the greatest of all miracles. Probably it was one of the, perhaps the greatest miracle of all time. That the Jewish people were not influenced by the Greek culture, for lack of a better word. For the deis and the ashkafis of Malchus Yavon, of Chachmas Yavon. There's no Chachma there, obviously. It did not discourage them from making that the center of their life, that was worthwhile to be Meiser Nefesh, martyrdom was worthwhile for Tumah V'Tairo. For Avodas Hamikdash, impurity. It still meant everything to them. So therefore, we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the great miracle. What's the greatest of all miracles? V'achreichein. Bo v'nechol et vir beisecho. Ufinu esecho lecho. V'tiras mikdashecho. V'dikuneis b'chatzres kodshecho. They returned to the point of departure. They were interested in living with pristine purity. It meant everything to them, even though it's something which is not tangible. It's not perceptive. This was the victory over Chochmas Yevonis. And somehow or other, they were able to shake themselves off this terrible type of inculcation that were trying to be inculcated by these devious types of thoughts that might come to them, which would make them Israel with tremendous strength, supernatural strength, surrealistic strength. They overcame it. And that is why it was Lashona Cheres, because this depended on subjectivity. Purim was objective. There was a decree of extermination. They were safe from extermination. Immediately, this holiday will be memorialized forever. The fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us from annihilation on these specific days will be memorialized forever. Purim will be an eternal festival. But Hanukkah was not dependent on anything objective. It was dependent on the bechira, the freedom of choice of the Jewish people. And the Jewish people could have become traitors, could have turned their back on the beliefs that make us a unique nation. So there was no possibility of establishing Hanukkah immediately after the military victory, because the military victory was secondary. The question is, were they affected? Was there an impact by all of these negative worldviews of how to view the world? Is the world only a physical entity? Does life revolve only around the laws of nature, only around the physical hedonei that a person can receive from this world in physical enjoyment? Does a person's hashkafa revolve around weaving a halo of infinity around the finite goods of the senses? That wasn't hashkafa of Yavan, Western culture. Enjoy yourself today. Drink, merriment. Undertake to make yourself happy. Because tomorrow you're going to die, you're going to vanish into oblivion. We don't believe that. We believe self-discipline is necessary insofar as materialistic existence is concerned. It's a finite world of senses, and there's an infinite world of Olam Haba. This is the great strength of the Jewish people insofar as their emunus and deis is concerned. So therefore, we had to wait a complete year to see whether the bechira chavshis of the Jewish people, the freedom of choice, the greatest charismatic gift given to a human being. Will they choose to be loyal? Will they choose to weed out insidious and evil elements that might affect their worldview or not? And as we mentioned a moment ago, one of the greatest miracles of all time took place, perhaps the greatest. Somehow the Jewish people were able to shake themselves from the Greeks attempting to inculcate them with their chachma, and everything was pure and pristine as it was before Malchus Yavan came to Eretz Israel, but on a much higher level, because when you have to fight for your emunas v'deis, when you have to fight for your beliefs, so the person is raised to dizzying heights, like we are today, fighting for our existence, fighting for our beliefs, fighting for justice. This will uplift us to great, great spiritual dizzying heights. And to answer the third question is a very simple answer. Because the Ramban says, Seif Parashas Bo, it says it many times, what is Chelek B'Elokei Yisrael? What is a Chelek B'Teiros Moshe? So the great Ramban says, Min Anisim Anana for Samim, Anta Moide Ala Nisim Anistorim, Shekol Mikreinu, Udvarenu Ein Boi Mishum Min Hogoi Shaloilom, Veinu Mishum Teva, Elahakol Nisim Nistorim, V'kol Mishenu Mamen Bazeh, Ein Boi, Chelek B'Teiras Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Ramban says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not undertake to make revealed miracles. The miracles, as the Eser Makos, were all miracles in Mitzrayim, and Yetzias Mitzrayim was one of the great miracles of all time, because till the Jewish people were redeemed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu from Egypt, not an Eved was able to escape. No servant was able to escape. But the whole purpose of that is not a purpose unto itself. It's to arouse us to know that the Jewish people have a special hanhogah. There's no teva, there's no laws of nature. Of course, the Rishis Bara Elokim et Hashvayim V'Aretz Elokim in Gematria numerically is ha-teva. Of course, there's a teva, but not for the Jewish people. The Jewish people are above that. The chosen people. That's the Jewish people, says the Ramban, have a special, unique hanhogah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to us. No teva, no laws of nature. What we think is nature is nisim nistorim, are called hidden miracles, concealed miracles, but it's miraculous. And the purpose of revealed miracles is to arouse us to have the proper belief that even things that happen in the natural way are also concealed miracles. There's no teva, there's no minhagos shaloilom by the Jewish people. They are above and beyond that because they are the chosen people. And if we do not believe this, so we are not Jews. We don't have a chelik in Teiras Moshe Rabbeinu. This is what the Malchus Yavan want to accomplish. No such thing as Nisim Gluyim. No such thing as Nisim Nistarim. When there was a Nisim Gluyim, so it was some sort of aberration from the Teva. Nisim Nistarim was mocked, ridiculed, scorned. And we're the opposite. We are the Jewish people. We have a special anhog, and we believe in that. And the great Rosh Yeshiva of Ponevezh, on the Mesibas Hanukkah, answered the Beis Yosef's question. We say, B'nei Vino, Yimei Shmoyne Kovu Shiur Chanonim. The B'nei Vino, those that have Bino, special intellect, they made 8 days of Shiur, of song and celebration. Why could it not say B'nei Chochmah, those that have wisdom? Why that is a b'nei vino that have a special ability to discern. So Shmuel Rozovsky, Zeichet Tzaddik V'Kadosh L'Vracha, Mar Rosh Yeshiva, said very simply, if it would be up to the b'nei Chochmah, wise, intelligent people, they would only have commemorated Hanukkah for 7 days, like the Beis Yosef asks. Why do we celebrate Hanukkah 8 days? There was enough shemen, there was enough oil that would allow a lighting of the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash for 1 day. It was, the revealed miracles were only 7 days. So the Rosh Yeshiva answered very pasha. True. If it would be B'nai Vino, it would be 8 days. B'nai Chochmah, 7 days. What's the difference between Bino and Chochmah? Chochmah, you understand, axiomatic, whatever you were taught. Bino is an ability to discern deeper, to understand better. So the B'nai Bino, they understood that the purpose of this revealed miracle of the menorah lighting for 7 days was not the purpose unto itself. It was a vehicle. It was a means to an end. It's not an end unto itself. It's the end of what the Ramban says. For Samim, you acknowledge and you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the Nisim and the story, because in all things that occur to us, every single event of our life is not Teva, is not Minhag Shalom. There's a special supervision of HaKadosh Baruch Hu for Am Yisrael, because they are the chosen people and will always be the chosen people. And therefore, the B'nai Vino Yemei Shmoina Kavu L'Shir Nanu Dafket, specifically the B'nai Vino, that they understood Davar Mitoich Davar. They had deductive reasoning. They could understand one thing from another. And the first day was also memorialized because the first day is also a ness. It's a miracle. Nisim Nistarim. So Jewish people came back to their unique perspective. And the Rosh Yeshiva added, what was the vikuah, the dispute between Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa and his daughter? His daughter was sad, Erev Shabbos, because she lit candles with vinegar oil, and she knew it was going to go out soon. So Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa said, what are you sad? Mishama, Shemen Yadik, whoever said oil should ignite and to be a flame from oil. Yoima, he will say, Chaymetz Yadlik. What was the vikuah? What was the dispute? She thought that shemen, that oil, right, ignites and makes a flame because of the elements that are contained in the oil, the ingredients of the oil, the teva, the nature of the oil. So Chanina ben Doisa said, you have a mistake. Do you know why oil burns? Because there's a Misha Amal. There's somebody who says the oil should burn. There's no difference between oil and water or oil and vinegar. That which it burns is not because intrinsically there are elements, there are properties that cause a flame. It burns because there's a mishama. There's somebody who says for it to burn. Special supervision hashkacha. So if it depends on the Mishamal, said the Rosh Yeshiva, if some Mishamal, Shemen Yadlik, you can simply say, Chaymetz Yadlik. It's not because Chaymetz lacks flammable ingredients that it doesn't like, because there's no Mishamal. And when they came to the Beis HaMikdash, they purified it. So they Klal Yisrael returned to the pristine hashkafas that they had, but on a much higher level. They were revitalized with the essential nomenclature of Hanukkah, is revitalization, renewal, revival. So then they proclaim the greatest proclamation that a Jewish person can proclaim, Yesh Lonu, Yesh Li, Chelek B'Elokei Yisrael.